thanks to the Vets for Peace for inviting me down to this beautiful City Hall. It's a gorgeous building that I haven't seen before, so thank you. I've been asked to speak about the dangers of the new nuclear arms race, and I think the dangers can be put into three broad categories. The waste of vast resources that are generally and urgently needed for social and environmental programs. Secondly, the increased likelihood of deliberate or accidental nuclear weapons detonations. And thirdly, the lost opportunity to join the global demand for a treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons. In October 2015, the Congressional Budget Office reported on the gigantic cost of the United States' pro-nuclear stampede. The CBO projects that the plan to rebuild the entire U.S. nuclear arsenal from top to bottom will cost $1.2 trillion between 2017 and 2046. Perhaps the radioactive cleanup costs were left out to weaken the sticker shock that normally greets trillions of dollars in new government spending. Ignoring the toxic legacy of decades of nuclear weapons production is a long-time practice of insiders in the system. One such design engineer at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory in California told me, when I asked, why don't you spend this money on cleanup programs? He said, we like to cook, we don't like to do the dishes. Unfortunately, the bomb-building cooks have left deadly mountains of radioactive dishes at 17 major weapon sites in the U.S., from Hanford in Washington to the Nevada test site. Another couple of $1 trillion will have to be diverted if President Trump's demand for a tenfold increase in the nuclear arsenal size is enacted. It's only a partial relief that no one takes Trump seriously, and that the Secretary of State then Rex Tillerson left that July meeting calling the game show president an effing moron. Since these weapons can only produce humanitarian catastrophes, the government is forced to use cool, detached, technical terminology to convince Congress and the taxpayers about the need and usefulness of nuclear weapons and deterrence. Trump's NPR promotes the building of these low-yield warheads for cruise missiles, submarine missiles, and even on top of ICBMs. For him to say seeking to acquire is particularly deceptive, since the U.S. already has acquired this capability. Really is seeking is permission to use these nuclear devices. Can we all say, permission denied? Permission denied. Ronald Reagan, who oversaw the development of 17,000 new nuclear warheads while he was president, ultimately said nuclear war cannot be won. In 2010, a computer glitch knocked off 50 ICBMs near Cheyenne, Wyoming. The launch control officers lost contact with 50 of the missiles they're supposed to be in charge of. In 2014, 13 Air Force officers at the Malmstrom Air Base in Montana were caught running a drug use and distribution ring across 6 Air Force bases. General James Kowalski, Vice Commander of the U.S. Strategic Command in Omaha, said this: "The greatest threat to my force is accident. The greatest risk to my force is doing something stupid." Unfortunately, they're in charge of some pretty terrible machinery. While Congress is beholden to the campaign donations from Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics, the new arms bazaar is simply business as usual for nuclear weapons laboratories, particularly Lawrence Livermore in California. Nuclear posture review starts out pretty good. The first sentence is, quote, "Many hoped that conditions had been set for deep reductions in global nuclear arsenals and perhaps for their elimination. These aspirations have not been realized," end quote. The world is currently pursuing the legal abolition of nuclear weapons. The lies of omission in this nuclear posture review include blatant ignoring of the July 2017 adoption by 122 countries at the United Nations of a nuclear weapons ban treaty which the U.S. denounced. The U.S. position to oppose this treaty comes in despite the fact that there have long been treaties banning chemical and biological weapons, poison gas, cluster bombs, and landmines. So far, 19 governments have ratified the TPNW. It's definitely possible, according to the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons, to pass the 50-country mark this coming year in 2019. We'll have to amplify our voices and our numbers to make this happen. The U.S. led the nuclear armed states' opposition to the new treaty. UN Ambassador Nikki Haley tried to explain the U.S.-led boycott this way. She said, "We have to be realistic. But being realistic means listening to realists. And no one can be considered more so than the late Paul Nitze, the Cold War military strategist and Reagan political advisor. Nitze drafted and implemented U.S. nuclear war plans himself. His advocacy produced the world's first hydrogen bombs and the vast increase in the U.S. arsenal size. Yet 5 years before his death, this hard-nosed realist said, quote, "I see no compelling reason why we should not unilaterally get rid of our nuclear weapons. To maintain them is costly and adds nothing to our security." He said further, "I can think of no circumstances under which it would be wise for the United States to use nuclear weapons, even in retaliation for their prior use against us. In view of the fact that we can achieve our objectives with conventional weapons, there is no purpose to be gained through the use of our nuclear arsenal." Ambassador Haley and the nuclear armed states could embrace the new treaty ban using Secretary Nitze's own words. He said, "Destruction of the arms did not prove feasible then, but there is no good reason why it should not be carried out now." Thank you very much.